Hey everybody, welcome once again to Challenged Athletes Live. My name is Bob Babbitt from the Challenged Athletes Foundation. Our guest today, representing Toyota's Olympic and Paralympic marketing, is Katherine Helffrich, and five-time Paralympian, the first American woman to win a gold medal in both winter and summer Paralympics, is Alana Nichols. Alana and Katherine, how are both of you guys doing?
Doing good. How about you?
I am spectacular. I get to talk to two wonderful people. So, Katherine, let's start with you. Uh, Before you started at Toyota, how familiar were you with Paralympics and Paralympic athletes?
Um, the very start of my career, right out of college, I worked at a sports marketing agency, and I worked on AT&T's U.S. Olympic team sponsorship. But at that time, they were not involved in the Paralympics as a brand. So I think through my own passion for Olympics and Paralympics, I started to really, gain an understanding about what it means to be a Paralympic athlete. And I think as I joined Toyota, and I know we'll probably talk about this a little bit later, in the program, I have gained so much knowledge and even more appreciation for what these Paralympic athletes do. On the field, on the court, in the pool, they truly are remarkable. So I feel incredibly lucky to be a part of Toyota and our vision and mission to advance the Paralympic movement.
What Toyota has done so well is it used to be Olympic athletes made way more money, and the Paralympic athletes were a little bit down on the totem pole. Now it's equal prize money, but going back, Toyota always embraced the Paralympic athletes exactly the same as the Olympic athletes. Did you notice that when you first started at Toyota?
Absolutely. I joined Toyota in December of 2017, and I would say in everything that we do, it is always Olympics and Paralympics. We treat our athletes on the equal, I would say an equal playing field all the time. I think, it is, I think sometimes we even put more of a stress on the Paralympic athletes because it truly is in the core of what we do on our team is, to try to advance that movement in everything that we do. And so I would say sometimes we even stress the Paralympics even more than the Olympics.
As well, you should.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you ever hear Jack Hollis from Toyota talk about the Olympics and Paralympics, he calls the Paralympians super abled. And
Right.
rather than, disabled, they're the super abled. And so I think that in and of itself speaks to how passionate we are about the Paralympic movement.
And speaking about super abled, we've got Alana Nichols, who, Alana, 17 years old, snowboarding, trying to do a flip, landing on a rock. Your life changed forever that day. Talk a little bit about that moment and how long of a struggle it was for you to find your new sport.
Yeah. So that was back in 2000 when there wasn't Facebook and Instagram and Toyota and, all the things that would connect me with the Challenged Athletes Foundation. So after I broke my back at 17, and I was a 3-sport athlete before my injury, I was pretty down and out for about 2 years because I didn't know about adaptive sports. I didn't know that I could still be active or that there were opportunities like the Paralympics in my future. So, I went on to college and I just kind of moped around because I wasn't able to be who I truly was, and that was an athlete. And it was about 2 years after my injury when I found out about wheelchair basketball. I just happened upon it. I was rolling through the gym at the University of New Mexico, and there was a whole team of people playing 5-on-5, and I couldn't believe my eyes, all these basketball chairs, and they're crashing into each other and falling over and getting up. And I loved how violent it was.
Yeah.
And so I got into a basketball chair that day, and honestly, it changed my life in an instant. It was amazing.
And the cool part about that is it's one thing to get into a chair. It's another thing to get a chair that's made for you, that fits
Absolutely.
you exactly, right? And that, how important was that first grant from CAF to getting into a chair that was meant for you?
Right. So I oftentimes explain it to people that have never heard of adaptive equipment. It's a lot like buying a pair of shoes that are too big or that don't fit. It's so hard to perform in somebody else's equipment. And that's what I was doing for the first couple of years of my basketball career. I found out about the Challenged Athletes Foundation equipment grant. I applied for it. I'll never forget receiving that piece of paper in the mail when the first word said, "Congratulations!" exclamation point. You have received a CAF grant and you will be able to have your own basketball chair. It was like getting my first pair of shoes and running really for the first time. And so, I mean, it changed my life to get my own basketball chair, and really it propelled me into, rising to the next level and being able to play on a Paralympic level.
So you go to Beijing in 2008, win the gold medal, right? And at that point, when you win the gold medal, how did that change your world?
Wow, you can't really explain it in words that really help people feel it. But the moment that I won that gold medal with my 11 other teammates, the buzzer sound and the game was over and we had won. I mean, there were so many tears falling out of our face, and everyone has their own story. But for me, I thought my athletic career was over when I broke my back at 17. And I couldn't imagine 8 years later, I would be in Beijing, China, sitting on a podium with my teammates, receiving a gold medal. And it changed my life in a way that made me think, if I could do this, I could really do anything. And, Bob, I kind of took that and ran with it, because I changed sports and I decided I wanted to get back on the horse that bucked me off. I wanted to start skiing again. And that's what I did. I moved from Alabama, where I was training, out to Colorado. And you know what I did? I applied for another Challenged Athletes Foundation grant for a monoski, for my very first monoski. And I got the grant, and I was able to get fitted into this machine, that really, if any of our listeners are skiers, how important the fit of a ski boot is. That's exactly what is happening when we sit in a monoski. We need that to fit perfectly. And there's no other way to go about it than to get your own piece of equipment. And those things are about $5,000 to $10,000, depending on what you're buying. And I couldn't have done that. I was a graduate student that didn't have a job yet, and Challenged Athletes Foundation met me where I needed to be met to be the best athlete I could be.
Well, and you sort of surprised people 2010 when you went to the Winter Paralympics. I don't think people were predicting Alana Nichols is going to come away in, 5 medals? What'd you end up with at those games?
I won 4 at that games, became the female to win gold in the summer and winter games. And I was actually the most medaling athlete, both Olympic or Paralympic, of the 2010 games as well. So.
Katherine, when you hear that, that somebody who was an athlete before gets injured and then basically reinvents herself and becomes not just a world-class athlete, but an Olympic gold medalist, how does that make you feel in terms of the investment Toyota has made in athletes like Alana?
Those are the most heartwarming stories. I think, when we talk about our Team Toyota athletes and you look at the roster of athletes that we have, they all have incredible stories. But I think when you talk about the Paralympics and these athletes and what they go out and what they do and what they've accomplished and the stories that they have, I think it's truly incredible. And I mean, it makes me feel, it is so inspirational. It makes me want to get out there and do something inspiring. But I think, ultimately, all of these athletes truly have an amazing story. I think it's almost hard for us to decide on who the athletes are for our Team Toyota roster, because everybody is truly so incredible. But I think, we're incredibly lucky to have the athletes that we have on our team. And Alana obviously being one of those who we, hold very near and dear to our hearts. And they go out there and they tell the mobility story from a Toyota perspective. They do a great job. So, I think we feel incredibly lucky to have them as part of our team.
Talk a little bit, Katherine, for you, what does the word mobility mean?
For us at Toyota, as we make this transition from an automotive company to a mobility company, it's really believing that it's a human right. So at Toyota, it's really about how can we get people from, whether it's across the room, across the country, across a city. So it's how do we take these mobility products and truly create an ever better society, and giving people that freedom of movement. It's really what it is about at Toyota.
Alana, when you hear that word mobility, what does that mean to you?
It means freedom. And One thing that I love so much about Toyota is that our messages and our mission really align. I mean, it's a very rare thing to be so, unified with a company that you get to work with. And Toyota's mobility program and initiative is what my heart wants for the world. I want to see people with disabilities living their best lives. And Toyota's creating mobility products that bridge the gap between where people are and where they want to be. And, for me as an athlete with a new disability, there was all of these options, but I needed the technology in place. I needed a company like Toyota that believes in the possibilities for people with disabilities, creates the technology and makes it possible for me. And, one of the most exciting things that I just learned about that's happening with Toyota is they're investing in the monoski technology. They're investing their R&D, they're putting their, some of the most brilliant minds around this monoski technology. And that just makes me so happy to think about how much more we can do and how much better we can perform. And, that's just one example of what Toyota is doing for people with disabilities to help them live their best lives.
Why is it important for companies like Toyota to invest in the Paralympic movement and to invest in mobility?
Well, I mean, I think Toyota's investment thus far has changed the entire face of the Paralympic Games. So, for the first time in Pyeongchang, there was a USA House because Toyota stepped in and said, that's not right that everybody leaves after the Olympic Games. We're going to sit here at the Paralympics. We're going to have a Team USA House and make these Paralympians feel worthy, make them feel, loved and celebrated. Toyota's investment in the broadcasting of the Paralympics is huge. We just had for the first time in my Paralympic career since 2008, I turned on the TV and I watched the men and women play wheelchair basketball for the gold medal. And that was insane. I loved it. I loved that I could just turn on the TV with my remote control and watch that. And that's Toyota's investment. And, moving forward, I think it's really important what Toyota is doing, because as a mobility company, if you watch their commercials, there's not a car in sight. They're talking about how important it is for people to be able to move. And, when movement is possible, freedom happens. And, when you watch these commercials Toyota's producing, you're truly inspired about what people can do and what the future holds. It's amazing.
So I know when I look at wheelchair basketball, then you do skiing, and then you move into, for 2016 games, you go to surf kayak or kayak, and now you're adaptive surfing, and you just got a silver at right before the pandemic hit. I think that was the last event, the World Championships. You got a silver in
Yep.
surf kayak. What for moving forward in your Olympic journey, Paralympic? Surf is going to be part of it?
Yeah, you froze just for a second, but I think that you were asking what the next step for me was.
Yeah, next step for you.
Yeah. So, after so many incredible experiences and being able to go to the Paralympics so many times, I really felt like it was time to transition into giving back. And one of the ways that I want to give back is to really pave the way and create opportunities for the next generation of Paralympians and specifically parasurfers. So as a member of the International Surfing Association's board, I work closely with you all at Challenged Athletes Foundation. We really want to see parasurfing in the 2028 games in LA. And, whether or not I compete in that's up for discussion when we get there. I'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I'm really inspired by Kelly Slater, who, is pushing 50 and still shredding. So I would love to be a part of that in some capacity. I will be in Tokyo 2021 as a broadcaster for NBC, telling the stories of other Paralympians and covering wheelchair basketball, quad rugby, and, obviously representing Toyota, and really excited about that. So future's bright.
Catherine, talk a little bit about the connection between Toyota and Challenged Athletes Foundation. How did that come about, and how important is that to Toyota?
You know, I think speaking about the Paralympics and the role that you all play and how you're able to help people go out who might have a disability and live this active lifestyle, and then, you know, ultimately help feed that pipeline of athletes to come when we think about future Paralympics. I think there's just this natural alignment for us. It's really about what you all are doing is giving people the freedom of movement. What we're trying to do is give people the freedom of movement. I think there are just these natural synergies that really, for us as a team, fit very nicely with what we're trying to do and what our mission is. And so for us, you know, we're thrilled to continue the partnership with CAF, you know, working with folks like Alana and Steve Serio on our Team Toyota roster. You know, it just is a natural partnership for us.
Are you seeing other companies following your lead? Because it always takes a leader. It takes somebody to invest in Paralympic athletes, and other people will follow the way. Not necessarily people don't want to be the pioneers. You guys were the ones who jumped in first. Have you seen other brands follow what you guys are doing?
Yeah, I mean, you know, speaking for our team, I would certainly like to say that, yes, we are a leader in this space, and that we pride ourselves on that. You know, it is our mission to continue to advance the movement. And we are starting to see more partners, I would say, on the USOPC side of things, step up and want to be a part of the movement. And so for that, I think we're really proud of the work that we've done and that we're going to continue to do throughout, you know, our partnership on the USOPC side and with our NGBs and with our athletes. It's going to continue to always be very important to Toyota and our team.
So, Alana, being a mom now, what are you doing workout-wise? You able to get out?
Well, my little boy just turned 1 year old. We just went to his 1-year-old doctor's appointment. He is 23 pounds. So that in and of itself is a workout. I picked that little boy up like 25 to 30 times a day. And a fun little side story, he just got his very first Toyota as well. He got a tiny little Toyota Tundra, and it's the cutest thing ever. And
it's amazing. It's amazing. I'm jealous. I need one for mine.
Everybody thinks he's driving it, which is so funny. Roy, my husband, has his remote control, which is hilarious. But back to your question, Bob, I am actually headed out to Lake Tahoe today to get on my surf kayak and just get wet, which is going to be so fun. My husband runs a foundation as well called the High Fives Foundation. Mm-hmm. They have a gym at their location in Truckee that is just incredible. It's it's called the C.R. Johnson Healing Center, and it's where people can go after a spinal cord or brain injury to continue their recovery. So I work out there as well, and I'm just itching to get back in the surf. So as soon as we can get out to Santa Cruz, I'm headed to the water.
So we've been knowing how much you like to get outside and guessing that your old hand cycle is probably a little worse for wear. We're thinking that maybe it's about time for another CAF grant for Alana Nichols and a brand new hand cycle that you could take out and go train on.
No way.
Absolutely. I don't like doing interviews where I don't give stuff away. That's like the best thing, right?
That's incredible. I had no idea. I've been wanting a hand cycle for so long. It's the best way to get cardio. And it's just been something, you're right, my hand cycle is no longer with me. It's old and it's been given away, and that's incredible.
This is from CAF and Toyota. We're so excited to give you a grant together. Isn't that fun, Catherine? Giving grants away?
Giving it a surprise on a Monday? Couldn't be better.
But one thing, you have to, we're starting our community challenge. That's going to start this week. Registration's August 4th, and we start August 8th, compiling running, riding, cycling miles, a million miles, $1 million to fund 1 million dreams. That's presented by Vega. But we need you to rack up some miles there, Alana, on your brand new hand cycle, and you can take Gunner on it. We don't care. Take Gunner on it. Do the tandem, the hand cycle for 2 would be great.
perfect. We have a trailer. I could easily connect him, and I will absolutely do that. Don't threaten me with a good time, Bob. I'll rack up some.
I love it. This has been like the most fun interview ever. We get to interview two amazing women and give away stuff at the same time. You guys are great.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
You are so welcome. And Katherine, thank you so much for your amazing support of the Paralympic movement, for our amazing athletes like Alana Nichols, only one of my heroes, who's done so much to not only be an athlete, but also be that role model for that next athlete who has no idea where their path is going to take them. All you got to do is tell them, let me tell you the story of Alana Nichols and where her path started and where it is now. And it's nowhere near done. It's just getting going. Thank you both for taking so much time and being with us on Challenge Athletes Live.
That's
Thank
amazing.
you.
Bob. Thank you, Katherine.
Good to see everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.